The first thing I would like to do is acknowledge that there is no supplementary agenda today, so we'll move right on to my ask of you as a committee. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay. So, given that, I'd probably move right into our first invited delegation, Andrea Kilroy from the Port Carling Legion. Welcome. Come on up.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me come before you. I am assuming that everybody got the letter that I submitted of a request. Just to refresh everybody's memory, that 12 years ago approximately, we as a community put up event boards in Windermere as well as Port Carling. And at that time, Bala declined. They already had their own set. And it was agreed upon by township, by the council, that the logo, their new logo, would be put on the event boards. The boards now have deceased its use as far as its time period for the material to last. So the material is being replaced. And again, we are coming forth as a group between the Windermere Lions, the Port Carling Lions, and the Port Carling Legion, that we use the board for our own purposes, as well as the communities, as well as the townships, as well as it's our way of giving back into also to the township and the public for the use of it. We don't use the boards, the event boards, for any purpose as far as commercial. We try just to stick with nonprofit groups and just, you know, the Santa Claus parade and the firemen's Halloween dance and that kind of stuff, and the mayor's golf tournament as well. So the cost of the boards is what is forth, and we're asking, the three groups are asking that the township pay half of the cost again, as what they did before, for the new signage. And the cost is in front of you, is the township's cost with tax is $2,130.84. The three groups have no problem paying, and so again, we are just asking for consideration from the township to help us with the cost of it, as well as be supportive of all of the individual groups that use it.
Good. Thank you. Any questions of the committee or Councillor Hayes?
Just a note, do these have to be replaced in the 2019 year, or can they be replaced in 2020?
In actual fact, they should have been replaced last year, and I'll be honest with you, the three groups have gone ahead and we have replaced the boards because they were falling off, and the structure, to be able to use the slots to put the events up weren't holding, and Windermere was actually worse than Port Carling. And behind me I have the two gentlemen from Windermere and from Port Carling, and the Windermere, Jim Gordon can easily say that they just couldn't use it. They couldn't screw them together anymore.
Okay. Please, go ahead.
To staff, do we have money in the 2019 budget in order to cover that expenditure?
Through you, Chair. The 2019 budget did not include funds to replace these community event signs, so we've recommended consideration in the 2020 operating budget. That would also provide the opportunity for us to reach out to other communities in Muskoka Lakes to provide that same opportunity to them as well, if their community event signs were in need of repair. As an alternative, I think we did discuss with Treasury and Shannon maybe can confirm if it's something committee would like to have take place this year. We could provide funding through the economic development budget and in turn consider consideration of future funds for those other communities in the 2020 budget.
Any other thoughts, Councillor?
Since they've actually repaired the signs, I think it would be nice if we could take it out of the economic development budget this year and then and that plan for next year for other signs and that, but I would support that. Because the signs are very, very good for the communities.
Okay. Any other comments, thoughts? So am I hearing, okay, thank you.
Actually, I do apologize that we didn't come forth sooner. It's been in the works for over a year, and this is my first time before the Financial Committee, and I didn't realize that we had to do this. So I do apologize for all three groups that wasn't happening in I guess, in the order that it should have been.
Fair enough. Thank you. Okay, I think you can sit down. Thank you. So what I'm hearing, we need to consider a resolution for 2019?
Corey go through his report first?
Sorry?
Corey go through his report first?
Okay, well, yes, sorry. There is a report coming later that will take some of this into account. But I guess I would ask the committee in terms of, sorry, Mayor?
Thank you. Can we advance Corey's report, talk about it at that point, and then we'll have an option? I mean, I personally, money's been spent, done. I think at the end of the day, if it comes in 60 days or it comes in 6 months,
right.
If we're committing a couple $1,000s to you, I think you guys will be happy to make things happen. So is it a 2020 budget item or not? I don't think there's anybody going around this table come January in our budget cycle that we wouldn't earmark $2,000 or $2,100 towards this project. You know, Corey, if we can find some money this year and some savings, and then I probably don't have an issue doing it in this year's budget either. So, you know, maybe if Corey's report, because this encompasses this. I'd look to the chair if you want to go that way.
Through you, Chair. The report kind of helps summarize a background that Andrea has provided. Again, the recommendation was for consideration of the 2020 budget, but through consultation with the Treasurer, if we would like it to come out of the 2019 Economic Development budget, there is funds that we can do that with.
Okay.
Thank you. Through you, this is an economic development issue. This is a welcome to the community from whatever angle you approach, and the signboards are used to post matters that draw tourism and promote the economy in our community. I think we should find the money this year out of the 19 budget from economic development and get this paid.
Good, thank you. So I wonder then, maybe perhaps if you would, Corey, perhaps you might as well make your presentation. I think we can do that, and then that might help, you know, move this through. If you would, please.
Sure. So the staff report is upon the received request that we received from the Port Carling Legion. As Andrea noted, over 10 years ago, the township supported the community event signs by providing 50% of the installation costs. Over those 10 years, just through normal weather and wear and tear, the signs are in need of replacement. Andrea has highlighted those costs as being approximately just a little over $4,000. The township's portion being 50% of that, so a little over $2,000 that we could come out of the 2019 Economic Development budget. And we'd also like to recommend that consideration of funds for 2020 be given to other communities that have community event signs if there's repairs needed there as well.
Good. Okay, thank you. So I guess, just to get a sense, are we in agreement that we would take the allocation of 2019 from economic development budget and then secondarily move ahead with the 2020 budgeting aspect? Okay, so we have that. So we'll just make that revision and then I'll read that. Maybe, perhaps while Cheryl's doing that, would we in the resolution consider in the report, as it relates to Bala and Manette as well? Are we considering I mean, I know it says here in the financial aspects of it, should committee recommend the inclusion of such funds in the 2020 budget, should we be considering that would enable Bala and Manette community groups to repair their community event signs when necessary as well? Which is double the price.
Yeah, and there may be other community event signs that need it, like All's Water might need their sign done, and that could even be one for Heckler if they want one in the future. So, I think we'd just leave it open for the budget.
So leave it open being just the two
For now, and
For now.
with consideration for future requests.
okay, so that's the 2020
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
Corey?
If we may, I don't know if we'd like to just clarify repairs to existing signs in the community, or if we want to get into kind of new event signs for other communities that maybe don't particularly have them yet. If we want to maybe clarify that as well moving forward.
Could we bring that forward as a economic development item at our next meeting? If we could, I think that, maybe we can review that on a more fulsome way. Good. Okay, good. So I'll read this. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hayes. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommended Township Council that funds to assist with the replacement of community event signboards be allocated from the 2019 Economic Development Operating Budget. All those in favor? Good, that's carried. Thank you.
Let them know that their request has been granted, and if they want to stay.
Yeah,
they can.
good, yes. So there you go. Your request has been granted. You're welcome to stay or leave, depending on your day. Thank you. Okay.
I have to thank you. That's vital for us at Windermere Lions. We need the signs to announce our activities. So it's a good effort. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, we're going to move along now to item 6A, which is a report from our clerk regarding an application for the purchase of a portion of a road allowance. Cheryl?
We've received an application to purchase a portion of a road allowance which leads to water. However, it's technically a road allowance leading to water, but it lies in front of a property on a bit of a peninsula, and the road allowance to the right has already been closed, so access has already been cut off in that location. Staff are recommending that the township proceed with the sale, and the reason why the application is here is because it's not one of the types of applications that have been delegated to staff, because it's a road allowance. I can answer any questions.
That's the least expensive real estate in Muskoka.
The fees are as per council policy.
Right.
And it's treated like a shore road allowance, so it's paying that rate.
Any comments? Okay, good. Then I'll read this resolution. Moved by Councillor Hayes, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend Township Council that tentative approval be given to the application submitted by William Melville Gray and Carol Allison McLean Gray, 4-10-035. Purchase a portion of original road allowance line between concessions 4 and 5, lot 20, Medora, subject to the conditions of Township Policy C-LS-08 and the staff report dated September 12, 2019. All those in favor? That's carried. So we have a report now on our HR specialist, Stu Lehman, regarding hours of work, flex, overtime, et cetera. Go ahead, what? Sarah.
Thank you. That's okay. Okay, so the last time I was here in the spring, I brought forward the full employee handbook. And so now I just want to bring forward a couple small changes. With Derek coming on board, we've had the chance to go over some things, and we've had some questions from employees, so we have an opportunity now to just make some improvements. So the policies are interrelated, that's why we brought them forward together at this time. And really, they have the overall intent of having a focus on work-life balance for our employees. So just to summarize the overtime, so the current overtime language restricts overtime on weeks where a person took a day off. And so the proposed language ensures a more fair approach where they earn the overtime in the day that it occurred. And the other improvements put a cap on overtime. They promote flex time, so we've expanded out the flex time into a more fulsome policy. And we increased vacation planning, so the net result being no carryover of flex time or lieu time, and just that greater likelihood that vacation is used and not carried over. And just to go back, I wanted to let you know that the changes were really well received by the staff. So I look forward to kind of training everything out really in a strong way next. So the changes to provide a framework where we can start to dig down into overtime a little bit more. But again, it's a starting point. So were there questions?
I guess, committee, is there any thoughts, observations, opinions?
Great, thank you. Through you, Sarah, thanks. This is great policy, I think, and it certainly helps from our budgeting perspective, that we're not caught in future months or subsequent years with, oh, by the way, you owe me 17 weeks of pay. And so very much appreciated, and I think my hat's off to you for helping craft this, and also to our CAO for pushing this forward. So thank you.
Excellent. Good, thank you. So I'll read this resolution, moved by Councillor Hayes, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the proposed amendments to the hours of work, flex time, overtime, vacation policies outlined in the staff report dated September 12, 2019 be approved. All those in favor? Great, carried unanimously. Thank you.
Bye, Sue.
Bye, Sue. Go ahead. Okay, so community updates.
Start with Peter.
I guess we can go right around it. He actually has one. Councillor Kelly.
Just so that everybody is aware, there was a federal all candidates meeting in the community center in Port Carling a week tonight. And regardless of the political strife, I think we probably owe it to our constituents to go and get involved and understand the issues and understand how we might be best protected and make some decisions on how we're going to vote from there. And that's all I have.
What time is that?
7 o'clock, I believe. Yes, 7 o'clock.
Good, that's great.
In the community center. Obviously not well advertised.
But we'll
It's on
be.
the signboard outside, I noticed that this morning.
Good, thank you. Councillor Hayes, anything from Ward A?
It's September, so our September Club has started up their potlucks last Tuesday of the month. Everyone's invited. Bring $2 and your utensils. Great meals. Yoga has also started back up, and it looks like we're going to start planning on the Walker's Point 150 at some point. That's all.
Good, thank you. Others? Go ahead.
The only thing I know about is on the 5th of October is a mental health fundraiser golf tournament at Windermere for a gentleman, Mackenzie Bauer, who passed away a year and a half ago now. And so it's a good tournament, and you can get some information for myself, or I think online, Google Mackenzie Bauer.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards?
Yes, two things. First of all, Friday night, the Raymond Hall at 7 o'clock, there's songs and strings. Anybody that has a violin, guitar, or anything else, that's welcome to come. Usually drop a toonie in, and there's usually coffee, tea, and goodies afterwards, and it's usually pretty well attended. And of course, this Sunday is the Windermere's 20th Cherry Fox Run. And if anybody hasn't been out to that and that you're available, we have a band. If you go over to the library after the meeting today, you can see auction items. We have probably over $9,000 worth of auction items there. I know there's 1 week at Muskoka Wood Camp. There's Blue Jay sweaters there, autographed. There's iPhones and everything else like that, so it's really well worth it. And if anybody would like, I am in the walk. I'll be doing 5K. If anybody wants to sponsor me, you're welcome to. And we also have a band, and the Lions also do a barbecue there, and there's face painting for the kids and games. So it's just a whole community event. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
And Val is doing theirs as well.
Val is doing theirs, it's throughout, right on. Excellent, okay, so as I move along, I want to acknowledge the minutes of the Muskoka Lakes Public Library Board meeting on June the 11th. If there's any commentary on that? No? Good? Okay. So then, moving along to economic development and grants, acknowledging the minutes of the Economic Development and Grants Committee meeting held on June 26th. So just entering those into the record. Any comments on that? No? Mayor Hardy?
Thank you. I just want to say, really pleased with, just as I read through the minutes, and that the committee's moving in the right direction, and my hat's off to Chair Kelly as you move this group forward. As we're working through all of these, the CIO and myself this morning had a conversation of the citizen committees feeding into these committees, feeding into council, is starting to kind of gain its stride, if you will. And I appreciate everyone's hard work and efforts to move the business of Muskoka Lakes forward. I know that Councillor Kelly and Councillor Zavitz had a meeting with somebody that may come forward to next committee regarding defibrillators. And that's the kind of exciting stuff that we can now do more business, I think. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Any other thoughts, observations? Good. So 8B, our report from our Communications and Economic Development Specialist, Corey Moore, as it relates to Cogeco and a non-disclosure agreement.
Thank you, Chair. Today's report, is related to a request from Cogeco to enter into a non-disclosure agreement to help support future funding applications for broadband expansion in Muskoka Lakes. Over the last couple of months, we've seen provincial and federal governments start to launch broadband initiatives. And we're starting to see ISP providers start to prepare for those applications. So Cogeco met with staff and the mayor regarding the non-disclosure agreement, and are looking for information from the township. The information is public information and would help them in their funding applications. In turn, they're willing to help share some of their information with the township as to infrastructure plans. They're also willing to work with other companies as well on expansion, which is good to hear. And it's something they've approached all municipalities in the district regarding, and we've seen other municipalities proceed with the non-disclosure agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any thoughts? Councillor Kelly?
Just for clarification, your report clearly says it's public information that they want access to. I'm a little mystified about why they need non-disclosure if it's public information, but that being as it, as it is, there's no risk. We have to be really careful, obviously, under privacy laws, that we don't over-disclose. And so when I see non-disclosures, my first thought is, are they really actually trying to get at something that isn't really available to the public? As long as we're assured that that's not the case, I'll be happy.
Go ahead.
Hey, Chair, through our discussions and meeting with Cogeco, it certainly didn't seem to be the case that they would be kind of intending anything like that. I think part of the non-disclosure was from their side as well, sharing some of that information with us that they have, and making sure that it's not shared with maybe some of their competitors from that side.
One supplementary.
Sure.
I know you probably haven't gotten this far. The process for releasing information, do we control that? Are we going to pull the information out of our records, put it in a report and hand it to them? Or do we give them passcodes and say, just go in and look around and take what you need? I'm being a little facetious. Just, thank you.
Perhaps the CIO could weigh in on that?
Mr. Chair, when Cogeco first approached staff in a very similar manner to Councillor Kelly's concerns, our antenna went up as well. And I think initially there may have been some desire to obtain more granular information, I'll say, and we indicated that we were bound by privacy laws, and the only thing that we would be able to release was that which was public. And so, for example, if they wanted to identify where commercial businesses were located, we referred them to the zoning bylaw. If they wanted air photo information, we referred them to Muskoka's web mapping. And so, from our perspective, the non-disclosure agreement really is a control over their information as to what we would be able to release.
Anything else? Any other thoughts?
I think in the reverse, just to make sure, just confirmation again, that when we release this information, it is for their own use and only their use, and we'll specify how it can and can't be used. Even though it's public information, the fact is, someone can go to a web map and click on a property and figure out this is zone commercial or not. But as soon as we send a data file, which I'm assuming is the simple portion of this, it can be sorted, it can be changed, and it can be evolved. And I want to make sure that that data file only remains with Cogeco and is never sent out beyond that, because the manipulation of the data, we're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars of time and energy. We see real estate agents daily pulling information from hard books, which is fine, but for Cogeco to again potentially move this information out there in electronic format, I think would be problematic, other than their internal. So,
Mr. Chair, certainly that's something that we can look at. I hadn't envisioned sending them data files. As I said, the information then is publicly accessible as to what they do with it when they access places like the Muskoka web mapping, etc. But if we are sending out data files, certainly we will ensure that that is a matter that's taken into consideration.
It's understood. Councillor.
Thank you. Through you, just because I spotted it now, didn't see it in first reading, one of the pieces of information that is to be kept confidential is actually the existence of the document and the fact that negotiations are underway.
Mr. Chair, I can tell you that this has been, this topic with this company has been on the agenda of a number of municipalities across Muskoka prior to it arriving here. In fact, we're the last municipality to be bringing this through committee. So I don't think Cogeco is too concerned about that part of it.
And it's already on, so that's fine. I just think you might want to take that line right out, because we ought to be the ones concerned about whether that's in there or not. That's my only issue. Okay.
the township. Are there other efforts? Bell, Rogers, are there other carriers? Are we going to repeat ourselves a number of times as this is contemplated in terms of going forward? And I wonder if the committee has any interest in discussing that. I wasn't privy to the Cogeco scenario, but as there are other major players all of our cell towers between Bell and Rogers, they're here all the time. Have we contemplated a larger, should this be something, perhaps whether it's economic development or some sort of subcommittee and/or staff contemplating the larger picture of this endeavor?
So, Mr. Chair, certainly this is a matter that it's addressed in our economic development strategy, and the municipality would play a facilitating role in private interests seeking grant applications. And so if this is something that the Economic Development Committee wish to look at and take a more active or proactive stance, that's something that could be discussed with that group.
Good. Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. I think just to follow up again, there's this whole NDA, because it's public information, Rogers and Bell and anybody else, Shaw, can go and grab this information. I think it's a little bit of a moot point. The only issue, I flag, is how that data is supplied. As council around this table at election time, we're all provided with an electronic voters list, but we're under very strict rules as to how to use that voters list. And there are people who want access to databases within Muskoka. They go to the MLA and they start pulling names and numbers out of the MLA to market towards. And I just want to make sure that we are confident in providing them this information, that there's stipulations that we're not marketing to the people, that the data is used for internal purposes for development of plans. It's not sold to any other people. That data files are returned and not copied, so to speak, because I don't think they wouldn't be signing or asking us to sign an NDA for access to a public website. So I'm pretty sure they're going to want some electronic records just to make their life a lot easier, and hence the NDA is my gut feeling in this. So that's just as we provide this, I think we need some, and potentially some legal counsel, just as to how that data is sent to them. That's all. And I'm fine to sign it.
Good. Thank you. I'm going to read this, sorry?
I just want to, did we review this with legal counsel? Just as a side note?
No, we have not, but other municipalities have, Mr. Chair.
And we will.
So I think that was a very positive discussion. Noted, items noted. I'm going to read this resolution, moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the General and Finance Committee recommended Township Council that the Township of Muskoka Lakes enter into a non-disclosure agreement with Cogeco regarding funding applications to support broadband expansion in Muskoka Lakes, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the non-disclosure agreement. All those in favor?
Wait a second.
Sorry?
Do we want to, are we okay verbally suggesting that this doesn't say that it's going to go to legal? I mean, we're okay for staff to make sure this goes through legal first versus having it be in the resolution. Just want to make sure that that's noted in the minutes. Thank you. This will be approved by our legal, which will also then help us with what data is given and how it's used going forward.
subject to review by legal counsel.
I'm not worried about the subject. I just want to make sure that it's noted in the minutes, and that we, again, when we bring this to council in a month, that we are flagging, because the legal will catch all of how this data is being used and returned. So,
Excellent. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, so we have a report again from our economic development specialist, Corey Moore, as it relates to website redesign and a developmental update of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, today's report for an update on website redesign and development. I'm hoping we've been working hard on the new website, and I'm hoping to maybe provide a little sneak peek today on our progress. Cheryl, if maybe, do you want to let me connect? Okay. Hopefully it works, yeah. Okay, so to date, we've been working on that initial website design and new layout. This is our draft concept currently. This would be kind of the new homepage. I don't know if that's still hard to see. Maybe I can zoom in a bit as well. Some of the key features, the website homepage being static. If we were to scroll out, it would fill the initial whole page, non-scrolling. We've got the call to actions at the bottom, I want to tab and search tabs, and the new menu tabs at the top. I think as we continue progressing through the website redevelopment and design, one of the biggest changes is going to see it be a lot more user-friendly from the residents' perspective, how they would find information on a website as to how maybe staff would store information on a website. We're continuing to work with eSolutions on further development of all the pages. Staff currently, we are going through the content, writing all the content. Next steps will be receiving training on the content management system. Our plan is to come back in October with another update and provide a more in-depth demo of the site once it's further along, to receive some comments and feedback from council. So again, just quickly, high level, a sneak peek at the home page. An example as to if you were to highlight over one of the menu items, the pages that fall under it, some call to actions on the right. Zoom in a bit, sure, yeah. If you were to call to actions at the bottom, news and notices, for instance, public notices, news items, and some staying connected call to actions would lie here. And then as we get further into the interior of the website, what some of the interior pages would look like. Obviously, right now, there's no information or content there. eSolutions has kind of just provided style guides for us that we can use when going through the website. So it's progressing well. Everything's on track, timeline-wise, budget-wise, and our tentative go-live date currently is November 18th. So that's when we can expect kind of the new launch. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Will the new webpage be able to accept payments from ratepayers?
Yes, so one of the new features with the new website is an e-commerce portion. So we'll be working with Treasury and our third-party providers to incorporate that. And hopefully, we'll maybe probably start out with some of the easier payment options that can be done online, and as we get more familiar with the software and the programs, we can start incorporating more throughout time.
Good, thank you.
Could you put payment for facilities on there as a priority? Thank you.
One question, or a couple questions, I guess. Number one, I'm assuming the navigation is consistent page by page, the header navigation. Right now, when you go into certain pages, you get a whole different world of navigation. So can I trust that the top and bottoms as such theoretically are consistent no matter what page I've drilled down into? Okay, so just as a flag, let's make sure E-Solutions keeps that going forward, because consistent navigation is a must, I think, in today's World Wide Web. The other question more, and I'm not sure how we're able to do this, one of the issues I know is people will go searching for reports, and our iCompass or FilePro we use at the district, and I know I have a hard time when I try to pull up something on an old zoning amendment or a minor variance or whatever, and I pull up the entire agenda, they're embedded in the entire agenda, and I'm not sure whether we can do it backwards, but going forward, will we be filing individual reports that can be searched? This is the individual report, and it pulls up that individual report for the public versus embedded in this agenda. So today we have 4 items, whatever it is. I don't really want to search through all 4 items. I just want to key in Cogeco, and that Cogeco report would be able to come up. Is that a functionality going forward?
So the government portal where the minutes and the agendas is staying as is. It's like a separate entity. It's through iCompass, and then and it does the webcasting. So it is a program that we will be continuing with. So the way that it is the way that it is.
Could we look at a iCompass 2.0?
Like we don't do, like the agenda, I don't know how the district works their agendas. Terry could speak to that better, but is it through E-Solutions?
It's iCompass.
Oh, it is iCompass. So we could look at solutions to that, but currently we use the meeting manager government portal, so.
Okay, I just, if I can flag that, I think, and maybe Terry can help as we move this forward from a district perspective, but we'll have one full agenda package, and then every single item is listed that I can zoom into that specific report as required. And I think it's just the way we put together our agendas here at the township. And again, I'm not worried about having to go back and change everything. I just, as a go-forward perspective, I think it's important for us and the public to be able to zoom in. If I type and I go through, and even old bylaws, firearms bylaw, I have to go find the agenda and find the package and find everything else versus pulling up bylaw 86421.
Yeah, and we don't have all of our bylaws on the website. We only have key ones that are searched or requested or looked at, because that would be a lot of storage space that is unnecessary.
So I will say, as we go forward from a storage space, bandwidth is cheap. And ultimately, I know it's staff time to get there, which is a bigger issue, I think, than basic bandwidth to put a PDF document of whatever the old bylaw is. So not necessarily to this project right now, but I think going forward, as better service to our constituents, those individual that I can search what that bylaw is, and I know we have the common ones, but even the non-common ones eventually to get there.
We also have to keep in mind going forward, everything has to be, we have to comply with accessibility standards. So municipalities are moving away to putting PDFs on websites because they're supposed to comply with legislation. So that's a whole other animal in itself. So I believe that the new website is going to have less links to documents. It's going to be more content in the actual website. So those are other considerations we have to think of.
Thank you. Through you, the mayor's comments are actually really hitting on something that I have a bigger issue with, and that is, in my experience of creating and building out websites, admittedly, it's a bit dated now. The real test isn't how pretty it is or how consistent it is from page to page. It's how intuitive it is. Can somebody who doesn't work in it every single day reasonably expect to go in there and, without giving up in frustration, find the information they want? So my question is, have we or will we be giving it to a room full of monkeys to see what they can find? Oh, yeah, that's us. Well, I was going to volunteer. I was going to step up and volunteer, because I'm about as illiterate with this stuff as you'll find. If I can find it, it's good. But my point is, we all know this stuff because we've sweated it through, and we know the shortcuts, and we know the language. Are we going to be given, or will somebody be given an opportunity, one of our less involved constituents, and say, look at this and tell us what you think. Find out something. Can you go in here and within 5 minutes or so find out who your counselor is and how they voted on the last? Because to me, that's the real test. It can be all pretty as all get out, but if it doesn't perform, if it doesn't run right, if it's not intuitive, if it's clunky, if there's dropped links, we got a real pretty lemon, and that's my only concern.
As we work through progressing with the development, part of one of our dates to hit with eSolutions is kind of reviewing that go-live plan. And I think in that, maybe I can include with them maybe the opportunity for kind of that revision ahead of that launch date, for sure, whether we do that with a small team. I will say, definitely the main focuses from the new website is to make it as user-friendly as possible, mobile-friendly. Users can find information in multiple locations, and be able to get to the content they're looking for within 1 or 2 clicks. Because after that, research shows you lose them fairly quickly. Yep.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I just, in addition to Corey's comments, wanted to advise committee that the company we've chosen has actually created a whole series of municipal websites across the country. So they're building on that previous experience. And funnily enough, the website company that Huntsville chose is the same one. And even after the website was finished, I was finding things that, or not being able to find things that I wanted. And there's an ability to continually improve the website, right? So if we don't hit it off the mark initially, definitely that's something that we'll be attuned to, and continually making those changes to improve that access to the information.
Thank you for that, and through you, I assume that that's the case. I mean, I don't assume this is going to roll out of the box perfect in every way, but I also don't really know what the problems are from the old one that we're trying to fix, because there were a lot of problems, and we see the problems differently than your average user. That's all I'm worried about. If the average monkey got stumped on it before and still gets stumped on it, then we haven't really solved the problem.
Right.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, one more. So very interesting point, and the mayor touched on it. I think the old school approach to websites was from municipal staff perspective and processes and accessing information that way, because we know those systems. This generation of website actually flips that on its ear with a view to the citizen accessing that information. So I completely agree with you.
So clearly we're talking about, I suppose, collaboration, functionality, utility, use your word. You'll be bringing this forward to the next General Finance Committee meeting for a further update for you?
I think council in October would be a good place to have that presentation.
Excellent. Good, thank you. Great update. Thanks a lot for your hard work. Do we need to discuss the event sign? We've essentially done that, right? In terms of unfinished business, I don't know. There's none, but of course there may be some opportunity for new business, so I would Councilor Hayes.
A month ago, I had requested that we do something for the people at Jospin Park with the camping, and I've heard back from them, and the combined efforts of the different departments here at the township has caused them great happiness. They are now enjoying their property as they should be, and as long as we keep up our end, they are just very pleased with what we've done. So I'd just like to shout out thank you to all the departments that were involved.
Any commentary staff on... Thanks to Ken. Yeah, thanks to Ken.
The only frustration, we did what we committed to do. We fabricated some signs after a fashion, got them put up, and some individual, they had to walk right past the signs, and there was a tent. And then some bright light took a picture of it and put it on Facebook or something like that. And you know, it goes to, I think, the effectiveness of signs. You know, if somebody's intent, as my grandfather used to say, a locked door only keeps an honest man out. If somebody's intent in doing something, they're going to do it regardless of what you do. But I'm pleased to hear that the residents were appreciative of the efforts, so that's good.
Thank you. CAO?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So committee will recall the discussion over that matter, and we talked about the issues between the parking bylaw, the parks bylaw, and a camping bylaw. So yesterday at council, of course, the first step to create clarity amongst those bylaws occurred with the passage of the parking bylaw, and it's staff's intent to bring forward a parks bylaw, et cetera, going forward.
Thank you, through you. This is to do with water quality, and specific over the last couple of months, we've been hearing, obviously everybody is talking about some of the incidents regarding sewage, as well as the toxic blue algae blooms that have been happening again in some of the smaller lakes. Through this, we've had some ongoing conversations about the process and the communication, and is there an opportunity for us as a council to have the people who are doing the testing come and perhaps talk to us and understand, are there opportunities for us to improve the current processes, the current reporting structure, and even understanding what it looks like and feels like today. So an example being a test done in August for blue algae that seemingly took a long period of time to get communicated out to the public. Is that a normal practice? These are questions that we have here in the background. So I guess I'm wondering, and it's probably a question more for our mayor and CAO, is there an opportunity to have the district, Simcoe Health Ministry, people that are doing this testing for us to come and talk to us as a council and explain to us what it is that they are doing, and as a council understand if there's things that we can be doing differently for the future. So maybe a question for, thanks.
CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So if there's consensus around the table to inviting, perhaps we start with the way that water quality, recreational water quality is tested across the municipality. We'd certainly reach out to our colleagues at the district. I could be happy to connect with the district CAO to have request Christy Doyle to come out and speak to council. You know, that may engender, if you wish to have the health unit at the same meeting, we could reach out to them as well. I'm kind of in your hands as to how you wish to proceed, if you want it all in one sort of session, or I'm looking for a bit of direction here.
Thoughts? Committee?
Thank you. Through you, I think that would be a good initiative, and you know, at the risk of going where no one wants to go, it may also be useful to talk to some people about remediation, avoid, you know, what can we do to stop this problem? What can we do to restore, rehabilitate? And I will tell you, I have, you know, full disclosure, I'm on the board of Friends of Muskoka Watershed. Dr. Norman Yan loves to talk and loves to share, and he's got a great story, and there's a lot of work being done to fix, or at least to come up with some proposed fixes for these problems. And I think it might be really insightful to understand not only where we are and how we find out where we are, but where might this lead, and how might we be the champions to repair and remediate.
CAO?
So, Mr. Chair, am I hearing a consensus from committee about a higher level overview initially and then starting to move looking at the health unit, et cetera, after that?
Sorry, as a supplementary, I guess. The original ask was a bit more specific to some activities that have happened today, and I think what it's highlighted to me is there seems to be a breakdown, and sometimes it's just not even understanding what the process is. So a breakdown perhaps in process, or communication, or understanding. I agree with my colleague, Councillor Kelly. I think we started the process with having the Watershed Council come and present, and I think water levels, water quality are critical, obvious, to our township. And I'm fully supportive of a more comprehensive, I would say, overview of water and how that looks and feels, if it's all done in one, or if we do a series, like we have a water series that continue to come to either council. I think it's just important that, you know, maybe it becomes a line item, that environment, you know, we should have something on here that what are we talking about that relates to the environment today. My specific ask was, I noted that there's some issue. Like, to me, there is an issue that Simcoe Health let us tested water on August 7th for blue algae, and we hear about it on August 27th. That's a 20-day delay. So what I don't know is if that is normal. Is that just the way that water is tested for algae? Is it different than E. coli? Like, to me, from what I'm understanding, a blue algae bloom can be very, it's toxic. It can kill, right? So it's a serious health issue. So to me, a 20-day gap in the middle of the summer, when you have people, you know, that is an issue. But what I'm trying to do is understand, is that just a normal best practice? So whether it's the district that comes to present to us or Simcoe Health, I'm just wanting to understand the process for E. coli testing, the process for algae. Is there something else that we should be knowing as a group? And was there a breakdown? And if that is the case, what can we be doing differently moving forward?
Mayor? Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, Councilman Zan, for bringing it up. I appreciate it. I think it's a great idea to start to help educate our council, educate our citizens on all things water. We get an annual report card from the MLA, it says we're good, we're bad, but throughout the season and last cycle, there's sewage spills and everyone's freaking out and it's bad water, it's good water. We need to make sure that we know for ourselves to be able to communicate better how water quality monitoring goes, what's recreational water quality, what's drinking water quality, alga blooms, all of those kind of things from a reporting structure. How do we protect our citizens? How do we disseminate information? Is the time frames proper? Just so that we can respond accordingly. And I think ultimately that's going to be a section in a table on our website that help people understand how water is managed. You know, this summer in particular, we've had no rain. We have stagnant water across this province. You know, and I listen and I've heard people talking, it's overdevelopment and it's septic systems and everything else. There are 3 lakes in Algonquin Park that are on boil water advisories. There's not a lot of overdevelopment going on in Algonquin Park, but there is a lot of stagnant water, and that's a problem. There was a new issued out yesterday or this morning on Brandy Lake. And I've never seen one on Brandy Lake. But again, we've got stagnant water. And so we just need to make sure through district, through everybody, here's the state of the nation, here how it's communicated, here's the issues. And then I agree with Councillor Kelly that what else can we do to help our water quality? And I've had people, you know, talk about what people are allowed to spill into the lake, so to speak. Our resort properties under the MOE certificate that they have, X CFMs can go in, and we say, what should be less than that? Well, I have no idea what less or more, maybe it could be double that and still not a problem. That's far beyond my pay grade, but it'd be better just to understand that and ask the questions and where ministry comes up with those kind of data that we can go to our constituents and I think help them and help us understand that we are protecting our lakes, which I think we are doing a very good job, by the way. And I think, you know, our building department and Sandy Bosch, from a septic perspective, is doing a good job in that. And so I'm fully supportive of this coming, and it could probably come right to council, by the way, as a Water 101.
I was going to suggest that. I think there's agreement on that. Councillor Mazan?
And if I could, I think some of the testing that is being done by Simcoe Health, I do think it would be helpful to have them here presenting to us, because as it relates to E. coli and algae, not just the district. So if there's a possibility to do both, I think that would be helpful.
Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, just to follow up on the testing, there's a 20-day period seems to be in that. Could we maybe ask the health unit if, once a test is done, either positive or negative, to send it into the township? If it's negative, we could post it on our new website, and that these lakes have a warning or something like that, like, you know, blue-green algae or E. coli or that. And that. So it's something that, you know, may help. I don't know.
I was just going to say that we do that. Like when they send us the notice, public notice, which we received one this morning, we'll be posting it on our website. I've communicated it to council, and so that everyone is aware.
But does it come immediately, like in that Councilor Mazan was saying it was a 20-day
Sorry, and I'd like to clarify, if I might, this wasn't a comment on the township's communication out.
Right.
There honestly was a 5-minute window between when Cheryl received the information and when it went out. My concern or question, I guess, was the delay between when the water was tested as to when the township learned.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so that 20-day delay, and maybe that's the appropriate time. I just would like to understand.
Okay, good. So I'm wondering if it is as simple an ask of staff that we would, for next council meeting, recommend that essentially a Water 101, I love the idea, the concept of bringing forward, I wonder who, well, I guess to staff, putting together that streamlined team who could present the salient information that would be of interest, you know, part one, and go from there.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I'm happy to reach out to those organizations and invite people. It may not necessarily be the next council meeting. It depends on people's schedules,
Sure.
but certainly I'll reach out and make those arrangements.
Good. So that's noted in the minutes. Councillor Hayes?
This is something new, it's not the water.
Any other thoughts on the water before we would move on in new business to Councillor Hayes? Okay, good.
Oh, the other road closure? No. You want to bring it up? Or you can bring it up? Go ahead.
Okay.
I
Councillor
would
Hayes?
just like to know if a committee would give consideration to moving the community events updates to the council agenda, because we have people missing that are not getting the information and are not giving the information. So that would be helpful.
Point made. Point made, point taken. Thank you.
District community updates, we can probably just.
Everybody's
Good.
okay with that?
Sure, excellent.
Same with, everyone's okay with the request to the Water Quality 101?
Right.
Right.
Thank you. Is there something else? Sorry. Is there?
So, yeah, so the only other piece of new business, I mean, Cheryl, do we have the map? We don't really need a township resolution, but Cranberry Festival has approached the district to increase some no parking zones
I only
on.
have letters in the district correspondence.
Right, so just, we'll pull up a map of what they're requesting. It's going to come to council directly this month because of timing. And they don't need a township resolution, and literally from our committee, we can say yes or no. I don't think anyone's going to say no to this, but they, maybe just pull up the map. They just want to add some additional no parking on Highway 169 and Highway 38 during Cranberry Festival.
Did they provide a map with that email?
There was a map in one of the emails I saw.
That's all I have in that email.
Oh.
I was only receiving.
Maybe Amy showed me a map on her computer that didn't come through.
I only
Do you have one, Ken?
I'm just looking, Your Worship.
I mean, I could bring up a map of Bala.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, basically it's expanding, so there's some outlying sections on 169, and I think they basically want everything within the zone. They want to just make no parking. And then down, if I remember correctly, down 38 on the way to Jasmine Park, they want to add that as a no parking zone as well. You did see a map, did you not, Ken?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so let's pull it, because that's the easiest way to see what's currently approved by the district. And it's a district thing, they just want a note from us saying we have no objection to this.
Mr. Chairman. I did review the request, and I had no difficulty with the proposal, and actually I had provided staff's direction to the district yesterday, saying that we concurred with the request.
So I'm wondering, thank you, I wonder if the intent is to push the parking back out of the zone, as you're calling it, to get more people in shuttles, is that?
Yeah. Yes, that was the intent, was to push back the parking so that it caused less interference with both pedestrian flows as well as the shuttle flows.
If Ken has a map, it's the simplest way to see it. And you can probably
Right.
show.
I'm struggling here, Your Worship, to find the right.
So we don't pass a resolution, essentially.
Just a direction to staff to.
It's,
Sure.
in years past, there was formal resolutions passed when the requests would come in, but because of a lot of the matters related to Cranberry Festival have been delegated to staff internally here, unless it's like a formal bylaw that's required or any changes, they come before council. But if you direct or authorize by consensus that the Director of Public Works has the okay to approve this request, then that can proceed.
Okay, would everyone be okay with that? Good.
Are you
Okay, it seems that everyone is. Good, okay, thank you. Does that cover that aspect? Okay. Any other new business? I'm getting a smile. Are you waiting for something? Are you hiding something? Okay, I'd like to read this. Moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at 10:08 a.m., and that the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on Thursday, October 17th, 2019, at 9 a.m., or at the call of the chair in the council chambers, Municipal Office, Port Carling. All those in favor?
I'd like to see you make it longer.
That's unanimous. Thank you.